Morning, Wednesday, August 14th, 2024. I'm Larissa. It's my video diary. It's time to drink some skulls. Yeah. So, yesterday, I had some different work done on in acupuncture. I had her focus on my arm because it's been so problematic, specifically past couple weeks. And she really, really painful at first. She broke up fascia in my arm. My arm actually is shaped different now than it was, and it is shaped now more symmetrically with the other arm that doesn't hurt. Um, I don't know. You can't really see, but anyway, the yeah, Omar noticed it because he was looking at my arm. He's like, "What did she do to you today?" And I said, "Well," I explained to him about how she broke up the fascia in my arm. Oh my God, it was so, so painful. And he's like, "Yeah, it looks like it's shaped different." I said, "Yeah, it is." So, I don't have any bruising or anything, but it was very, very painful at first. And then that that the pain broke, right? Like, and my muscles are now back in, or they're in a different position than what they were on my arm on the bone. And then after she did that, then she then she gave me needles, and I got some e-stim on the needles. And acupuncture is so powerful. It is so powerful. Yeah, it really is. It really, really is. And I slept pretty good last night. I slept pretty good, yeah. So that's all good, right? Yeah. Yeah. And I looked over my lease. I just have a couple questions that I need to ask today, but I think it'll probably get signed today. Probably. Oh my God. So I saw a while, like last week, I think it was, I saw that the Mars rover has identified a spot on Mars where they're pretty sure that there is a large reserve of underground water. So I'm guessing it must have one of those like sonograph kind of functions or something where they send vibration down through and see where there's and then get vibration back, right? It bounces back off of certain things, and they can tell if there's empty cavities or, you know, liquid or whatever. That's kind of interesting. They say it's water though, and I'm like, I've been sitting and thinking on it, right? Because like, so the technique that I've used for the series Drishti to the Subatomic Plane, I have some other pieces that are not part of that series that don't have to do with subatomic particles, where I was looking at locations. And I have a series of watercolors in a book of watercolors that are all almost entirely on Mars, and some other things on there too. Almost entirely, I was looking at Mars, topographical, which was interesting because I hadn't seen any of the Mars photos yet at the time when I did these paintings, and I did these paintings concurrently with some of the pieces in Drishti to the Subatomic Plane. Decided at that point, if I'm looking at these small particles, like, can I look at distance or whatever? There's a book I read. Oh, I can't remember what it's called. I'll go in there and find it on my shelf. Anyway, it's about remote viewing, and I had heard of remote viewing, but I didn't realize what remote viewing was. And I got this book because I was talking to someone. Who was I talking to? Okay, so there's this guy, this total stranger. Um, one of the last events or political events that I went to at the cathedral was a panel discussion on violence in, was it in Indonesia? Anyway, there was a panel. There was a panel of um, an Islamic political leader from Indonesia, uh, rabbi, uh, bishop, Bishop Barber, and there was an Orthodox bishop, Romanian Orthodox bishop from Canada, on this panel. They were having this panel discussion. And it was supposed to be an interfaith prayer service. There was a Buddhist and a Hindu too. There were a whole bunch. It was supposed to be there was supposed to be this interfaith prayer service, all praying together at the cathedral, but not in the same room. It was all broken out into rooms. And so, anyway, and then there was a panel discussion afterwards. After that, when I was walking to my car, because I asked some heavy questions and did not get straight answers, the Romanian Orthodox bishop approached me in the social time afterwards, and we had conversation. I had some questions for him, and he was like, "Whoa." Um, I asked him questions he wasn't expecting to get. He wasn't like, "Wow, you're so smart, you're so great." I asked him questions he wasn't expecting, and he was surprised. And um, anyway, when I was walking back to my car, I had parked at the Kaiser Center parking lot next door to the cathedral because the cathedral parking was full for this event. And there was a guy who approached me as I was walking to my car, and he introduced himself to me as a representative of the Shaolin Temple. I mean, he had his head, he looked the part, okay? Like he looked, there was no reason for me looking at him. There was no reason for me to think he wasn't in full robes or anything, but he was dressed very modestly and in natural fibers and um, sandals, and like I didn't question when he said that he was from. I was like, you don't look the part, right? He looked the part, and he spoke to me about the questions I had asked. Um, and then asked me about my work. And I had been, these watercolor paintings of Mars that I'm talking about, I did while sitting in the courtyard at the cathedral. And after I was doing, I was practicing with a Qigong group there at the cathedral for a short period of time. Um, and he was asking me about about the paintings and about the work I was doing. And he was asking me about my meditation process, and we were talking about it. And he's like, "Well," he said, "just so you know, if you're gonna talk about this stuff publicly, you're gonna have problems." That's what he said to me. He said you have to be real careful. I said, "Why?" He says, "We don't talk about these things publicly." I said, "We," and he's the one who told me about this. He said, "Well," he said, "the process that you're talking about," because he was asking me about the meditation process that I was using in the creation of these images, and um, he's the process that you're talking about. Um, the U.S. government uh, does something similar. He said, "I don't know. Have you ever heard of remote viewing?" I said, "Yeah, I've heard about remote viewing." He said, "Well, there's some parallels," and he said, He said, "There's some people have written about it. You might be able to find a book about it." And so I went looking for books on it after having this conversation with him. He never told me his name, and I never saw him before that, and I've never seen this man after this. Yeah, he had on, it was like a navy blue Carhartt coat, and he had on like these brown linen. or I don't know if it was some sort of natural fiber. I didn't touch them, of course, but these like pants that were kind of like a wrap. And he had on like it was like a wrap style kimono style ish. It's kind of I don't know underneath the coat, like right, like he was wearing traditional garments. He wasn't wearing, other than the Carhartt coat that was on the outside because it was cold. Um, it was cool. And then he had on sandals. It was interesting. So I know that there are Shaolin in the area there, because there's a couple. There's a restaurant. Monks have a restaurant. Have well, it's two restaurants. It's the same restaurant, but there's two locations. And I used to eat at that restaurant sometimes. It was the Buddhist restaurant run by those Shaolin Buddhists. Yeah. Anyway, I have those paintings, and um, this book I have. It's about this remote viewing process that the CIA has used, um, started developing in the 50s. And um, the biggest difference between the process that I do and the process that the CIA developed is LSD. So I don't use LSD. So LSD was developed to uh, promote a certain brainwave pattern, right? Um, to use for this process, and it's been used historically to target or to narrow down target area for um, recognizance missions, right? Um, and some people have gotten so good at it, like they can direct somebody through a building and stuff like that. Um, and so I was real curious then, and so after having this conversation with him and getting this book, or no, I found articles. I didn't get the book until later. Anyway, I was curious. I wanted to know like what all I could look at, and I had looked at the Mars. I had done these Mars paintings and some other things, and then after I'd done those Mars paintings, and after we had moved um, to the house on Alcatraz, the last house we rented before we moved out here. Um, I did a whole bunch of paintings. I have a whole bunch of smaller paintings that are I was looking at Io and oh gosh, I didn't write titles on any of them. They all had titles, but I didn't catalog any of them, and I could kick myself over it. Um, if I look at the paintings, I'll know what some of them are. I was looking at Europa and Io and I looked at Venus. I looked at uh, I looked at Mars some more. Anyway, when looking at Mars, I found I saw in my process, in my meditation process, underground cavities, volcanic cavities that were open, and um, I saw water even deeper than that, or liquid. But I'm like, okay, is it really water? How do I really know if it's water or not? You don't really know if it's water or not. And if it is water, and if there is, in fact, an underground base of some sort for some other planetarily based humanoids or beings, right? Like there's some space station that's already up there, you know. So we got Mars rover up there now, and somebody like me, Mr. Elon Musk says, "Oh, we're gonna go out there and start drilling around and see if we can tap into that water." Like, can you imagine if aliens came down here and started drilling into our water supply here? They're gonna be pissed off. People just don't think ahead. I don't know. So there's water up there. So some kind of liquid up there. You don't know what's in that water, what's in that liquid, right? You don't know how that liquid, you don't know what you haven't thought of or don't even know to think of what kind of effects the atmosphere and whatever the elements are that are surrounding the rock that's enclosing those that fluid, that liquid, like, is water even water in under those circumstances, right? And does a human body process it in the same way, right? Like, what is, I don't know. There's so much unknown. Yeah, but I thought it was interesting that the rover was able to relay such information, had such capability. Yeah, made me think about those paintings. I've been thinking about those paintings, and I've been thinking about getting back into, or trying to get back into doing that work, once I am done with this series after I get moved, right? This series I'm working on right now. And it's interesting because, thinking about it from water perspective, because the series I'm working on right now has to do with water resources on this planet, land resources, natural resources on this planet, but specifically and particularly water resources. Um, yeah, so I've been thinking about that. Like, that's and that's been kind of weighing on me a little bit. Um, it's been adding to my frustration, or adding to the stress that is coming from moving my space and all of the other stuff around moving my space. You know, when I was doing that work though, like, I had asana practice every other day. I had I was doing asana practice every other day. I was chanting practice every day, and I had some sort of physical practice every day if it wasn't asana practice. And so all of that had was important in the energetic alignment, for meditation. And I haven't really, like, I haven't engaged that technique in that manner in some time now. And, it's called practice for a reason. And so, how out of practice am I? And the physical issues that I've been having, like, how much will I be able to transcend those in the practice? The other thing that I've been a little bit concerned about, wondering about, is, like, in that practice, like, when I expand my energy in that way, um, bringing the energy back in, right? Expanding the energy for me has never been the issue. My challenge and my difficulty has always been in bringing the energy back in, and it's physically painful, right? And so, what do I mean by that? I mean, because when you expand and are detached from the physical self in that way, Um, some people call it astral projection. It's not. Astral projection is not quite is not quite what I'm talking about. Um, Astral projection is done more on this plane here for, like, interpersonal spiritual encounter, right? It's a little different. There's more of astral projection. You're more tethered to the physical vessel, right? You're more, it's not, you're not, you don't go out as far, right? Or as much. Anyway, process that I'm talking about, like, your energetic self hovers and holds on to your auric field, which is the closest energetic field to the outside of the physical body. And so, your energetic self is still able to animate the physical body, right? But it's really far out detached. Like, it's a stretch, let me tell you. And when you bring that back, when you're out, like you don't feel physical sensation. And so, like, it was amazing for dealing with pain, like to be pain free, right? But you can't function in the normal world in that state, right? Um, yeah. I mean, you could with other persons or beings who were in that state, but you can't interact with other beings that are not in that state, right? And safely, right? It's not safe for the physical vessel. So, but anyway, in that time, like there's no physical, you feel no physical pain, right? You don't feel sensation in the body because you've detached from labeling, naming anything, right? That is in the physical realm of the reality of the physical vessel, right? And you can you can press your energy through other dimension, through space and time, and so in that way you're able to move in almost instantaneous manner to other points that are very, very far away, and look at them, not just small things, but just distance wise. So yeah, that's how I was doing those paintings of the Mars surface, um, like aerial. There were a lot of aerial images. Like I looked at other stuff too, but then when you pull your energy back in, right? Like when you start to reattach, right? And become aware of the physical body again. And that's what that awareness is pulling all of that energy. And as you pull that energy back in to the vessel and when you contract the chakras, contract them, that sucks your energetic self back into the physical vessel. It hurts because you become acutely aware of all sensation. So even if you're having a pain-free day relatively before, when you come back into your body, the sensation of being in the vessel is acute and is uncomfortable. I mean, when you talk about the state of being human in the body as being defined, um, as suffering, that's what that means. It's not, about, oh, I'm so upset and poor me, blah, blah, blah. It's that it is physically uncomfortable to contain the vastness of what our being actually is in the confines of a human form. We are so much more expansive than what we realize, and I think even more so than what I realize, having you know achieved this this state. Talk about samadhi and the state of being in total acceptance of, um, non-judgment and bliss. It is truly bliss, right? Yeah, but I haven't done that process in that manner in some time. So after doing those works and being in this space here and being in the environment here that I'm in, and what I've been doing, what we've had to do just for survival and safety on this property, I adapted my technique and what I've been doing to focus on the the beings, the minutia of beings that live here on this property. That's why I sign our Christmas cards, from Larissa and Omar and all the beings on the Kitty Pants Ranch, because I've really gotten to know, you know, down to the insects here, you know? Um, But I've been thinking about those paintings and about those processes, and there's a couple things in the lease that I have some questions about because if uh, anyway, that's a whole other story. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Maybe it'll be easier to do the process with a heavier, thicker, older body than it was with my younger, wafier body, physical vessel. I don't know. Maybe the thicker vessel will absorb that shock of re-entry. I guess we'll see, won't we? Or I'll see. I guess I'll see, won't I? We'll see. I'll see. Yeah. That's what I've been thinking about. That's what I woke up thinking about today. That is what I woke up thinking about today. I was kind of thinking about it last night a little bit when I was, reading through the lease and stuff. Last night cleaned out, we ate leftovers out of the fridge. So tonight I'll make something new. I'm not sure what I'll make. I have a Savoy cabbage down there. I could do a Savoy slaw. Do a Savoy slaw with some air fried tofu. It's a possibility. I also have a couple heads of romaine. They need to be used. Maybe I'll do a big salad. I could do a big salad and do a big salad and maybe a bowl of bean soup of some sort or a dal. I don't know. I got bread down there. I don't know. What else do I have down there? I got some more green beans. Could do a stir fry. Some trumpet mushrooms. I should look. I have a handful of. I have a couple handfuls of spinach that need to be used. Cook those down. Maybe I'll do spinach and eggs. Do spinach, mushroom, and eggs for breakfast, and then something else for dinner. Something lighter for dinner. Like I said, a salad maybe. Salad of some sort. Salad. Yeah. I was really hoping the series I'm working on was going to be like 4 pieces. I think it's just going to be the two big ones, and two big ones, and then all the studies. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see once I get into the new space how I'm feeling. Right? Oh, I just keep thinking about all this work that I want to do. It's like, why even bothering, Larsa? Why even bothering? Why even bothering? Who's it going to benefit? Nobody cares about anything you do, Larsa. Nobody cares. So the other day, I ordered the September issue of the magazine. So it'll be here a couple days late, but just a couple days. So it's really not that bad. Um, but I didn't have the new address yet, so it has no address in it, which is a little upsetting for me. Um, but there will be an address in the October issue. So, and the October issue is well underway. Um, I won't have a true Santa Cruz issue until November, because there's things I need to get into the October issue. Although, who knows? Maybe I'll just do an extra long October issue to get everything in that I need to get in. We'll see. We'll see. Because I want to do a grand opening, I think. A grand reopening, right? Anyway. Anyway, one thing at a time. One thing at a time. One thing at a time. Yeah. It's almost the end of the summer. Almost. Almost. Summertime and the living's easy. Fish are jumping and the cotton is high. Your daddy is rich and your mama's good looking. So hush now, baby, don't you cry. Yeah. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise up singing. Stretch your wings and take to the sky. But till that morning, there ain't nothing gonna harm you. With mommy and daddy standing by. Hush now, baby, don't you cry. Yeah. Oh, it's August and everything's dropping pollen, and there's like one section of my vocals that, unless I have perfect posture and perfect support, I don't have total access to. Although this season it's better. Like other seasons during August, I've lost my voice entirely because of the pollen drop between the redwoods and the ferns with their spores. The ferns with their spores out there sporing it up. Those ferns spraying their sperm everywhere. The bees love it. Yeah. Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees. And a thing called love. Yep. They're still looking for that alligator in Lake Erie, evidently. Still looking. I think they're going to be looking a long time. I think it's not going to be an easy thing to catch. Although they could just put out some raw chickens. That's probably what happened. Somebody had one of those things, one of those alligators. I was telling Omar about it in the 80s. Right after me, my mom and dad, my sister Rachel moved out to eastern Pennsylvania. So that was early on. We were living in a townhouse. I was like kindergarten. Yeah. And Rachel wasn't in school yet. Anyway, there was a big fad of getting these alligators as pets. And I remember Easter time, there was like a news story about, why you shouldn't get these alligators to put in your kids' Easter baskets. It was a news story / PSA kind of thing where they were talking to animal specialists or whatever. It was like, I remember watching that. I remember seeing that on TV. And because they're back in Western Pennsylvania, there were a whole mess of people who were buying these alligators. And it was Western Pennsylvania, New York, and there was like one other place. I want to say it was New Jersey somewhere. Anyway, people were buying these alligators. And there was a news story about it. I remember. I was like, who would want an alligator? I'm like, they get really big. I remember thinking, alligators get really big and they're mean. They're telling people, don't get these alligators. So there used to be a fad. A lot of people had them as exotic pets. And so when I saw the story about the alligator in Lake Erie, I was telling him, I said, I'm not surprised. I said, I bet you somebody was listening to some story from that their aunt or uncle or somebody was telling about, oh yeah, I remember that time we had that alligator. And like, oh, I'm going to get an alligator. And they went and got one. and then they let it go because that's when they were the story was saying about 2 years old. That's when people give them up because that's when they become unhandle like hard to manage. You know, you got a 5 to 6 foot giant lizard, that is eating half its weight in chicken, raw chicken every day. They become unmanageable and aggressive. And so that's when people would try, like, release them. And stories about, oh, there's an alligator in the sewer, blah, 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 blah. Um, those stories come from somewhere, and this is where it comes from, because it was a fad for a while of having alligators as pets. I don't know. What's wrong with people? The hell you want an alligator for a pet? There was an ad campaign for, because like alligator bags and stuff were really popular there for a while. And then there for a while you couldn't hunt the alligators anymore because they were overhunted, they were poached, and populations were so low, and alligator populations are back up. And it's like, there for a while it was like really taboo. You couldn't buy or sell taxidermied alligators, or alligator shoes, or alligator purses, or whatever. Or there was an ad campaign in a magazine that I saw in a doctor's office. It was around the same time period. There's a woman walking an alligator, and she was carrying, I think it was an orange purse with some big gold clasp on it or something. Things I remember. I remember some weird things. Alligators in Lake Erie. Oh my goodness. Don't get alligators as exotic pets. They are not pets. Alligators are not pets. I mean, they're perfectly lovely beings. Bismarck at the Oakland Zoo is a very pleasant being, and Bismarck is not a pet. Bismarck and the other couple alligators that are there are rescued, right? And they're there as ambassadors to their species. So don't get these animals as pets. People, please don't do that. Dogs are domesticated, cats are domesticated, a bunch of birds are domesticated. There's little lizards you can get, there's guinea pigs. Leave the giant predators alone. Don't bring the giant predators in your house, please. Go see them at the zoo. Go see them at rescues. You know, these animals are there as ambassadors, and be kind to them. Oh, anyway. Loka samasta sukino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukino bhavantu. Om shanti shanti shanti. Right? Anyway.